What got me interested in ethanol is kind of an interesting question. We were called in as a group of our Kappa cooperative to a meeting in Kearney, and a group came in and said, "You guys really need to build an ethanol plant." They were looking for an area to build an ethanol plant, and we had a farmer group in Kearney that was probably ripe for the taking. Had a lot of high energy guys that were a part of the group that took a look at the process of what it'd take to build an ethanol plant, and we moved on from there. And how do you do that? First, we have to decide if we're going to do it. We decided we're going to do it, and then I think we picked out originally 5 guys and that wanted to volunteer and maybe work on that. And 5 guys put $200 on the table, and we filed for a company to build an ethanol plant. What followed was excruciating 2 years. We had to raise some seed money. State of Nebraska helped us, but what you have to do in the state of Nebraska is get an offering that we could go to possible investors, and we elected to be only Nebraska investors and raise enough money to start this smaller ethanol plant in central Nebraska. The banker told us that, well, if you're going to do this deal, you need to have a guaranteed price for your corn and a guaranteed price for distiller's grain that will sell shares against. That would eliminate a lot of the risk for us if the market would go crazy or something like that. So we had to design a share that was locked in for $2 corn. And, at the time when corn was less than $2, we looked pretty good. And then when corn took off a little bit and people would be locked in selling their corn for $2 a bushel, they weren't very happy. So we're into January, and a large group in eastern Nebraska had promised $4 million, and they backed out. We were we're down to like 2 weeks worth of offering document, and no one was really wanting to go with this. And this when Mr. Fagan came to town and said, I would like to maybe talk about this to see what we could do. And one time that I remember, interstate was closed. We drove to Grand Island and see if we could get enough money to last another couple weeks, and that failed. Then Ron said, well, I think I can get it done for you. I think I can raise money for you. So we were 2 weeks past. We got an extension from the Department of Banking. We've been through some pretty dark days there that we're just thinking about pulling the plug and calling it quits and doing what we're going to do with our debt. So in a Nebraska offering to be within the bounds of state of Nebraska, we could have no more than 500 investors. So the bulk, over 90% of them were one unit investors, and we had some larger players come in that had a presence in Nebraska and did the final investing to get us over the top. So we were financial close. We thought we would never be there, and we were able to pay some of our debts and get going. Ron Fagan and his sons, were a great help to that, but that allowed us to get a permit with the Nebraska DEQ, and that stuff takes 6-8 months to get for permit, and early part of 2000s, we started construction. We looked at why would we try and build an ethanol plant, and people in the past that had built one said, well, it changed the basis near an ethanol plant by a dime. And we thought, well, even if it's not an investor, we've helped everybody by increasing prices by a dime a bushel. And at that time, we were probably right below 20 million bushels that we would have probably ground in a year. So that is an economic impact of just a dime a bushel on 20 million bushels is a lot. Then you start talking about the fact that you have to have corn delivered to the plant. You have to have distillers corn or distillers wood grains taken to feedlots. So there's a built-in economic development pack for this area, Minden, Nebraska, right in between Minden and Axtell, that just changed the face of agriculture here. When we look back on what it took to build this plant, and I'd really like to think about our families of this group, because they sacrificed even more than we did because we weren't there when we ought to have been, and part of our operations suffered because we were having meetings late at night or doing fundraising deals all around central Nebraska. And those are the ones that I'm most proud of. Our core group, our Kappa members were rock stars, but our families did the sacrifice because we weren't there. It's been quite a ride for us. We were really close to pulling the plug and never moving a spade full of dirt. But what happened was we did move that spade of dirt, and our goal was to operate an ethanol plant in a year and make $1 million. Well, it turns out that the first month we made $2.2 million, and we didn't look back. And we plowed it back into equity and paid our debt off in 22 months. And the thing had just went crazy since then. We're producing 370 million rough gallons. And we also own a large elevator on Union Pacific. But 3 ethanol plants are state-of-the-art. We've worked very hard to keep them in the latest technology, and we're very proud of them. There's been a lot of advancements in the industry, and Kappa Ethanol is hopefully taking part of those. But, the first one probably came about was corn oil, and one we started with, and it's a high-value product that we can use in animal feeds and probably pulls a little bit out of the distiller's grain, which probably maybe helps the distiller's grains a little bit and allows a little more concentration and different feeding mixes with this corn oil. It, 4 or 5 times or more the value of distiller's grain. Corn oil has helped bring profit to the industry in some times that were tough. We're looking forward now, and we don't exactly know what's going to happen with carbon dioxide. It could be a complete game changer also. If we compress the CO2 produced at our plants and store it someplace, keep it out of the environment, if that's what people deem as very important, we stand ready to be part of that. I would say that I was most proud of with Kappa Ethanol is a combination of things where family sacrificed, my fellow board members sacrificed greatly. We built something that's not been done before. Amazingly successful. We have taken a $12,000 share, been selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars now. Whatever world would you think of something like that happening? And all the other benefits that we've brought with the value of corn, the value to schools of dollars we donate to existing businesses or in civil groups around the central Nebraska. You got to be proud of that, and I am. I've talked about our family, but there's some rock stars in our group that started it. Without them, it wouldn't happen. Once one group would get down or one guy would get down, they'd say, suck it up. We're going to do it. We're not dead yet. We're going to keep going. We can get this done, and pretty proud of that. Proud of my friendships that I've made, and take that to my grave.